Good evening. Will the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for Wednesday, June 5th, 2019, please come to order? For the benefit of those who may not have participated in a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, our procedures are as follows. The Secretary will read the legal call of the meeting as published in the local newspapers. The applicants will be invited to come forward and present the case, explaining to the Commission and others present what is being requested of this property. Comments of town agencies will be read for each application if there are any. There will be clarifying questions from commissioners. Then there will be the opportunity for clarifying questions from the audience. First, those who wish to support the application may come forward. Second, those who oppose the application will then be invited to come forward. As this is a public hearing, it must be recorded. It is necessary for speakers to identify themselves, state their name and address before addressing the commission. The applicant is then free to leave or remain for the balance of the public hearing and regular meeting, at which time the commission will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decision of the commission and has the right to appeal to Superior Court if desired. Decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling the Planning and Zoning Office, 453-8039, after 9 a.m. Seated this evening are the following members. I'm Phil Johnson, Alan Brown, Scott Edmonds, Jason Marchi, our new member, Jamie Stein, welcome, Frank DeAndrea. Our town planner is George Kroll, who right on time. Lisa Piombino is the recording secretary, and Peter Schultz is the videographer. As we don't have the vice chair or the secretary, I have asked Scott to read the legal notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on June 5th, 2019 at 7:30 p.m. at location Nathaniel B. Green Community Center, 32 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut, Mononoketuk Room, second floor, for the following purposes. Derek and Kyoko Tumre, 104 Watering Pond Road, map 97, lot 35A-7, zone R-8, special permit for custom floral design in a detached accessory building. Barbara and Jeffrey Chip, 10 Indian Cove Road, map 10, lot 168, zone R2, special permit and coastal area management to add dormer and rebuild deck. William G. Butterly III, 5000 Durham Road, map 128, lot 1, zone R8, special permit for accessory structure over 750 square feet, 1363 square foot tractor barn. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the office of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Town Hall South, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. At this hearing, persons may attend and be heard, and written communications will be received. Dated at Guilford, Connecticut, this 14th day of May 2019, Phil Johnson, Chairman.
Very good. Matt Yerzinski has also joined us, so we have 7, so we have a full slate. Everybody's seated. First item is Derek and Kyoko Tomre, 104 Watering Pond Road, map 97, lot 35A-7, zone R8, special permit for custom floral design and detached accessory building. Hello.
Thank you. I'm Derek Tomre, here with my wife, Kyoko Tomre. I've given you a letter, but to sort of summarize it, we are requesting a special permit for a floral design business to be used in an accessory building. This accessory building is over 750 square feet. It was approved, I guess, 2 town meetings ago. So we thank you for that. The main impetus for the requesting the use outside of the home is that currently it is done in the garage. The garage has a very low ceiling and is actually quite full. So picture the garage. I think you got the idea. She makes beautiful flowers under these conditions in spite of this. It's a low ceiling, no natural light into that room. So what we're requesting is in the approved building to have a segment of that being 590 square feet for basically the floral handicraft workspace, which comprises that space, the half bath, and a walk-in floral cooler for that. And then the other part is as we sort of had said before, it's going to be a garage, and for me, I do photography. I actually do a lot of imaging. I do that professionally, so I'll use part of that for photo studio. So that is sort of the rationale for it, location for it, Basically, the building, oops, help, no, it's not upside down. Although it doesn't really matter as much, does it? So here's the approved building. The issue that was up, I think, and I think has now been addressed, was the septic tie-in for the half bath. I think you would probably have something from your town official, your health administrator there, Dennis. But basically, the question was whether or not we could tie into the home septic system. For that, he came out to the site and checked everything out. And then he submitted to the state of Connecticut a variance. We have actually been granted that variance, which is a document saying that we actually, just a copy of it, I think you actually have a copy, saying that we are actually permitted to tie in, with the one exception that we have an additional septic tank en route for that. So that's the main parts, and I'm sort of really welcome to take any questions that you might have.
Quick question. George, I'm assuming it is a permitted use by special permit?
Yes. Home handicraft business, industry, yes. Office, studio, any of those things. The reason it's a special permit is because it's in a detached building.
Right. It has to do, so we can already are allowed to do it, and we've been doing it from the home. The question is to use anything, any part of it or all of it, for, I mean, all of that were permitted space-wise in the accessory building.
Seems a pretty innocuous use. Any questions?
What kind of car traffic do you expect?
Nominal, about, we sort of addressed that, but maybe twice a month. So actually less than we get daily per UPS or something else. So very nominal. Yeah. And I should mention the flowers. She actually goes and picks them up from Guilford when she can, and then other wholesalers. So it's actually not trucks coming in to do things like that.
Any other questions?
I got a letter, you want me to read it first?
Yes, if you, I think toss that one to Alan.
Oh, go ahead.
Planning and Zoning Commission, Dennis Johnson, Director of Health, June 5th, 2019. The application proposed detached accessory building will not conflict with the operation on location of the septic system currently located on site. It is recommended the application special permit be approved with the following conditions. The applicant should install a new septic tank to correct the proposed half bath in the accessory building to the leaching system serving the house prior to insurance in the certificate of occupancy.
We agree with that.
That's great.
actually shown in our
You
site
want
plan.
this?
For sure, yes.
Great. Any other questions? Would anyone in the audience like to ask a question with respect to the application? Would anybody like to step forward and speak in favor of the application? Would anyone like to speak against the application?
Motion to close the public meeting.
Second.
On this?
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with this one.
I didn't know this- I thought this was the second, but we are. it was the
Right.
other thing.
No, the other one.
So would someone like to make a motion to waive
I'd
this?
make a motion to waive the need for two public meetings.
Second.
So, thank you. Just a quick discussion. I think this is pretty straightforward, very low intensity use.
It's the same use that's already happening, so it won't really change.
Just a nicer space.
Right.
So, I'll call the vote. All in favor of waiving the second public meeting?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
Great, thank you so much.
And then motion to close.
Right, do you need to make a motion? Oh, we wait.
Right. we
For
still
deliberations.
officially Close the public hearing for this issue, correct?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Barbara and Jeffrey Chupp, 10 Indian Cove Road, map 10, lot 168, zone R2, special permit and coastal area management, add a dormer and rebuild deck.
Sabrina Folk from Point One Architects. I'm representing Barb and Jeff Shep regarding their property located at 10 Indian Cove Road in Guilford. We're here for a special permit and also a CAM review. So our project is pretty straightforward. We have an existing house and we want to add a dormer onto the existing house, and then we want to change the configuration of the deck. This is let's see site plans. They're very difficult to tell the difference, but this is the existing site plan. This is our house. This is the existing deck. What we'd like to do on the existing deck is just change the configuration, mostly just so we can use it more. The seating is better if we change the configuration, but the coverage is unaffected. The second thing we would like to do is, this is the existing house, are these drawings. The current roof height is 24.2, the proposed roof height is 24.2 feet high, and the existing roof height is 20.5. So my understanding of the regulations is that the maximum average allowable is at 32 feet, and we're at 22.5 for the average one, so we're lower by 9.6 feet. And then the building height total is 37 feet allowed, and we're at 24.2 feet. So we've done nothing to enlarge the building on any of the view easements. We have raised the ridge by a few feet and rebuilt the deck. As far as the CAM work goes, we will be doing everything in compliance with what's required by coastal area management requirements and best practices. We'll have silt fences, we'll remove any debris, but we don't see anything impeding or being a negative effect on the waterway. I think that's it.
Looks like we have several letters.
Actually, one other thing. We went a little out of order, but we went to the health department because we have a 2-bedroom house. We went to the health department and they looked at our drawings. The way they were drawn initially showed more bedrooms, so we reconfigured the floor plan. I don't know if you want that updated plan or not. It was sent to Lisa via email, but I have it printed as well if you'd like that.
So this is just staying as a 2-bedroom then?
Yes, sir.
Want to tackle the Carol Szymanski letter?
Sure.
This is addressed to the Planning and Zoning Commission, Town of Guilford, care of Kevin McGee, Environmental Planner, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut, regarding the coastal site plan review to construct a rear deck with stairs and expand the square footage of the residence at 10 Indian Cove Road. Jeffrey and Barbara Chupp, applicants. Dear Commissioners, thank you for referring this coastal site plan review received April 23rd, 2019 to us for review and comment. Project description. The subject property is an undersized waterfront lot of 8,451 square feet, which hosts a single-family residence. The lot is split by 2 flood zones, V14 and X. The applicant proposes to construct a rear deck and raise the roof of the existing residence entirely in the X flood zone, approximately 36.8 feet from the concrete seawall. The location for the silt fencing extends slightly beyond the limits of disturbance into the V zone and should be located entirely in the X zone. This erosion protection can be relocated closer to the work area in the X zone and not present a hazard or an obstruction in the VE zone. Coastal resources on this site include coastal hazard area VE 14 and X, beaches and dunes, rocky shorefront, and coastal waters. Conclusion, we hope these comments are helpful to the Commission pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 22A-110. We request these comments be read into the record at a public hearing for this application. If we can be of further assistance to you in this or any other coastal management or Long Island Sound related matter, please feel free to contact me. Carol Szymanski, 860-424.
Very good, thank you. There's a memo here from Dennis Johnson. Jamie, you want to tackle that one?
Sure. Thank you. Subject, Chuck, Barbara, and Jeffrey, 10 Indian Cove Road, map 10, lot 168, building design plan by Point One Architects dated June 3rd, 2019. The applicant's proposed addition will only result in an increase in habitable space, while the originally approved dwelling bedroom capacity will remain at 2 bedrooms. The applicant's proposed special permit will not conflict with the location or operation of the septic system currently existing on site. It is recommended that the applicant's proposed special permit be approved.
A letter from Kevin McGee.
If you could read that, that would be good.
Sure. Dated May 14, 2019, to Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission from Kevin McGee, Environmental Planner, regarding coastal area management review, Barbara and Jeffrey Chupp, 10 Indian Cove Road, Guilford, Connecticut, 06437. The applicant is proposing to rebuild a deck and install a dormer across the rear of the house. The coastal resource policies applicable for the property are coastal hazard area, rocky shorefront, coastal waters, intertidal flats, and shellfish concentration areas. A portion of the property outside of the work area is located in a FEMA wave velocity zone, VE, EL 14 in parentheses. A site plan provides for erosion and sedimentation control measures that are designed to protect the adjacent coastal resources. The work being conducted should have minor impact on the adjacent coastal resources if the erosion and sedimentation control measures are not properly maintained. In order to make sure that the coastal resources are protected during the construction process, I recommend the following conditions of approval. 1, the Town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site work. 2, any soil removed from digging the piling should be disposed of outside the flood hazard area. And 3, the site should be inspected daily to make sure that all construction debris has been properly disposed of in a covered dumpster. That's that.
Dennis Johnson again, Planning and Zoning Commission.
I think we got that one covered already.
You did it?
Yeah, I think so.
Jamie took care of that one.
Let's see.
Have you seen copies of all 3 of these letters? Would you like them?
It appears there are also several letters in the application supporting
Thank you.
the remodeling. We can read them into the record if you'd like, or we can just submit them for the record. They were from Sally and Bob Osuch. Okay. And Kira Havlicek. Sorry about that, Kira. Lisa, if you could just enter those into the record, that would be terrific. There's a staff email.
No, there's 2 objection emails as well.
I'm sorry?
That's the first of 2 objections.
Aha.
But should we ask some questions?
Yeah, why don't we go down that road first?
So related to the 3 that just got read into the record, the one from Carol specifically mentions what you plan to do in terms of, so what's your response to her recommendation of moving that line?
Yeah, I think this was done by John Gessick, who's a surveyor, a local surveyor, and what he shows is this is the silt fence. I think what she's sort of talking about is right here, it crosses the VE line. So we certainly can bring this as close as possible to our construction area, and as far as the other best practices that they're talking about, the builder would be doing that. And I did read through your minutes from previous meetings, and so that's consistent that you have the town go and inspect to make sure that the site is being well maintained.
Yeah, Kevin's recommendations are pretty standard. He recommends those for all scenarios. So as long as you're willing to move that line based on Carol, okay?
Yeah.
George, could you briefly remind me about viewing rights? She mentioned that there was viewing easement. Could you explain briefly what that means?
Coastal management regulations require that a view lane be provided and or maintained equal to or greater than the setback requirement for structures within that zone. And I think the presenter has mentioned that that's been done on both sides of the property. There are view lanes equal to or greater than those setback lines on either side. That's what the coastal management regulations require in order to protect views from public places, which is the only area of authority that we have. In terms of views from private property, if there are any easements, private easements in place, I'm not aware of them, and it's not our responsibility to enforce them if they are there. But this project does comply with the view lane requirements of our regulations.
Well below the height.
And the height requirement, as testified, is within the limits of maximum height that the zoning regulations allow.
Very good. Should we hold these letters for the negative comment?
Especially if they're here.
Okay. Why don't we wait on that then? Any further clarifying questions from the commissioners?
Is that a new staircase on the far left corner?
Right here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's part of the deck rebuild.
Okay.
Yeah. So the original deck, the entire thing was a staircase all the way across.
Oh, okay.
So we decreased the amount of staircase so we would have a little more depth, usable depth.
Commissioners, good. Are there any clarifying questions from the audience? Would anybody like to speak in favor of the application? Would anyone like to speak against it?
Well, some of us have submitted letters.
Sure.
Okay. Do you want to read your own letter? Do you want us to read them?
No, you can read the letter.
Okay, well, I'll tackle the first one then. This is from Russell Mowry regarding Barbara and Jeffrey Chupp, map 10, lot 168, zone R2. I would ask that the special permit and coastal area management to add a dormer and rebuild a deck be denied. I have lived in Indian Cove for 65 years. It is a private association. The beach is a gem and a selling point when folks put their house up for sale. Since the Chupp's house is on the beach, any accident could and would affect the beach. Since the beach belongs to the association is not private, we must take that into consideration. I also believe that steps down to the beach were put in, but I never heard the association being aware of the new addition. I also feel that since the Chupps have just moved in the last few years, they knew what they were buying. If the house was not big enough, then why did they buy it? With some of these changes, people's views of the water could be affected. Consideration of your neighbors must be taken into account. There has also been complaints about the road being partially blocked due to parked cars. With the additions, there will be more vehicles. I feel the request should be denied. Thank you for your time and consideration, Russell Mowry. And there's one from Marianne Mancini. Let's see. I'm just going to jump right to the Dear Board, we would like to submit an objection to the changes at 10 Indian Cove Road as proposed. We are objecting to these changes will obstruct our views of the sound as they currently appear above the roof of 10 Indian Cove. It will also obstruct our current views at the right side of the house, 10 Indian Cove Road. We have enclosed pictures showing areas where views will be obstructed, approximate, of course, in red ink. However, if the small tree currently blocking the view lane from the street to the sound between 10 Indian Cove and 24 Indian Cove was removed, not pruned, as it might grow bigger, we feel the unobstructed view of the sound through the view lane would make up for the loss of view currently indicated by the plan. The tree has been identified in the pictures mentioned above. We are unable to attend the meeting on May 15th, but understood that we could submit a letter to the board. Thank you, James and Mary Ann Mancini.
The first letter mentions homeowners association. Is this within a homeowners association?
So the Indian Cove Association.
All right, would you mind just stepping forward and stating your name and address for the record? Just because we're a public hearing. Thank you.
Evening. My name is James Mancini. I live at 7 Reeves Avenue, which is diagonally across the street from 10 Indian Cove Road. Indian Cove is an association, charter association, been there for many years. And it's a community that we moved into, bought the house a little over 5 years ago, moved in over a year and a half ago permanently. We have noticed, changes just in traffic alone, because it seems that even the heavy trucks are coming through to get onto the other side of Indian Cove because of the bridges and everything that are in place on 146, because nobody wants to come down Moose Hill Lane. So just going forward with construction on this would require a dumpster and whatever vehicle is going to be parked there. And those vehicles will block the lanes for fire and emergency services. Okay, we have that problem now. We don't want it to continue. There's no one here except a few of us who can represent the Cove or the association. I can't speak for the association. I'm a member because I own there. So that's one of my concerns. And, like you said, when we look out from our house, we see the chimney in the middle of the house. That's there now. Now I'm going to lose that. That's going to be 4 foot higher. Okay, so now what I see from that roof line is gone. I'm going to see 3 windows, according to the plans I've looked at.
From the perspective of this photo, is that pretty much the perspective you have from your house?
Yes. I couldn't see it from the second floor of the first one. Okay, that's from my porch, or my front door, my side door, it's not the front door.
So you're looking directly at that?
Looking right out there. So you can see the chimney, that's about 4 feet. And so what I lose is that whole roof line, because they're going to raise it up. Several years ago, two owners before, that owner went for a permit, special permit, for half a dormer and was turned down. Okay, and that's why there's 2 skylights on that roof line. So I don't know what changed that, I know.
I suspect it's not the same plan, but
No, but
I don't
but I
call
don't
that to
think.
you? I've been sitting for a while.
Well, that's, those are the things we've been told, and that tenant sold it, that owner sold it to the 2 women that lived there before the Chubbs lived there.
You appreciate that the height that they're building this is significantly below the limit that they can legally build it to.
No, I understand that, but I'm going to be looking at a flat wall with 3 windows. It's going to take away from my view out. It's like looking out this window. I could look out and I can see that van on the other side of the parking lot, okay? If you raise that, I don't see that anymore. I lose the rocks on the other side where the diving board is. The kids are out there swimming or something. I lose that whole view, either from my first floor or my second floor. So, I'm not against renovating a house. We moved in and we did renovations, okay? Came to the board, asked for a special permit also, okay? But, we went to all the neighbors, talked to all the neighbors, and the neighbors wrote us letters saying that, what we were doing was fine with them. We have a few neighbors here that are just not happy with it. You read Russell's letter. I know you have letters from Mrs. Osuch. Doesn't impact Mrs. Osuch. She's an eighth of a mile away on the other side of the cove. So Sally's a wonderful lady. Her son's in the audience, but it's a point of you got a letter that supports it, but it doesn't impact the person who supports it. So if they need to go up, renovate the house, then there's got to be a better way for us to be able to keep what we have.
I'm certainly empathetic to people's views being impacted, but that being said, there are specific height requirements that can't be exceeded. So, inside of that, it's pretty much by right.
Okay.
And I appreciate that it might impact you, but we're really looking at,
The legal end of it.
Yeah. And if there are issues with respect to contractor trucks or other issues that are a safety issue, I'm sure the Chubbs would be accommodating to figuring out a way that it's not. And if it's still an issue, you can obviously contact the police and make a comment or complaint with respect to vehicles being parked in an unsafe manner on the street. Again, that's somewhat outside of the purview of this commission.
How long do you project construction?
I would think 6 months at the most.
It's not a big job. This tree, is that what you want as a compensation for them lifting the roof? Is that what you're trying to say?
That would just clear that whole lane right there on the picture for us to look out to the water. Good. You gotta
Please
come
come
up here.
forward, state your name and address for the record.
I'm Mary Ann Mancini, so he belongs to me. Yeah, that tree is actually in the view lane from the street. So as I believe I understand the regulations, that view lane should be open. So it's not just from my house, it's from the street. And that tree seems to grow slowly, but lately it's growing a little bit more. Eventually, that's going to just completely obstruct our view all over the place. But again, it is in the view lane from the street. So I would imagine that tree really shouldn't be there. And what I understood from the regulations is that anything above 4 feet should not be in a view lane. So that is our request. If this is going to go forward, we'd like the tree eliminated.
I can't recall us putting a condition of tree removal.
Is the street a public space?
The street is owned by the association, but we would consider it to be a public right-of-way.
The zoning easement, the view easement is based on a certain amount of open footage, right?
Right.
And so the tree, in theory, would be factored into that calculation to figure out whether or not this meets regulations. Is that correct?
In theory, although, we never really
not like
interpreted
it's
quite
assessed
that
every
literally.
year.
And, with respect to vegetation, the maintenance of the view lane is independent of this particular application. But they're not proposing to plant the tree as part of this application. It's already there. In fact, it's a tree that's been there for quite a while, judging by the picture at least. It's the obligation of the homeowner to maintain the view lane if trimming is required in order to maintain that minimum space. I don't know whether this tree affects that or not. I don't think none of us have been out there to actually measure it. So I can't say definitively.
So the tree was on your property before you bought it?
Yes. And what I'm not sure of, is the tree in the setback? I don't know where the tree is on
It's hard to tell from the picture, where it
Hi,
is.
I'm Jeff Chupp. I'm one of
Is
the
the tree shown on your drawing?
homeowner with Barbara Chupp. I can show you where it is, and I'll tell you the tree is an amazing organism, actually, that has been part of the cove for probably 100 years, is my guess. It's a very unique tree. It is in the seawall and the rocks. It's perching out of there. That's on the boundary of our property with the neighbor, and it's actually the only tree on that's near or close to our property. I'm not actually sure if it's literally on it or not. Yeah, that's the tree. It's right there. So it's on the seawall, and it's called like a muckberry or something. I asked.
Deciduous, leaves?
Yeah, it's a local, and it has grown out of the rocks, and it's really beautiful. And it has, in my senses, it's part of the coastal view. It's not actually, it's part of the coast, it's not something, and it's part of the water view, and I think that it's not actually, it's not something we put there or have planted or is, an ornamental tree or anything like that.
Did the regulations say anything about the types of objects that are viewable? I mean, it is a...
Sounds like the minimum distance is achieved with or with it, whether that tree's there or not, although I haven't actually looked at it with that in mind, but it doesn't sound like removing it is something anyone's really too keen on doing, but...
I'm Barbara Chubb. The tree is not in the lane. It's the back of our house is about 15 or 20 feet from the seawall, and the tree is like a few feet beyond the tree wall. And
It's much further.
Well, it's like in the rock, between the rock and the seawall. And I will say that our next door neighbor, who has lived there, he's a third generation resident of the Cove. His both sets of grandparents grew up in the Cove. His he inherited the house from his parents. And one of the first things he said to us when we moved in was, "I hope you'll promise me never to cut down that tree because it's been here for over a century." So I believe that the Mancinis and Craig have had that conversation about the tree as well, and that they've asked him about cutting down the tree. And so it really has nothing to do with our project, and it's literally, it's barely on our property, and we didn't plant it, and it's the only tree that is on our property. So that's all.
Their argument is that it needs to be trimmed in order to meet the standards of their view.
Well, certainly they can call the.
Are they required to do that, George?
If they wanted to check on the viewing enforcement, they could talk to the zoning enforcement
They could talk to
officer.
Aaron.
Is that correct?
That would be true regardless of whether this application is
Correct.
approved or not.
Correct.
So,
Isn't the tree part of?
We have it,
It's a
I guess.
It's a natural thing that grows in the plant.
It's not an issue that we've ever confronted before, exactly like this. Normally, I mean, sometimes you do have issues where people have planted a hedge or other vegetation clearly designed to block the view from the street of the water or their backyard associated with the water, and that's what this regulation is designed to discourage and or prevent. And it's hard enough to enforce that particular provision because people really become fond of hedges and things that have grown up for years and years. So something like this is never confronted a specific tree, a specimen tree like this, and tried to force the owner to remove it. I think that would be, we'd be very reluctant to do that. But
You really feel that it's impinging upon the view lanes, that you contact the zoning enforcement officer and get their opinion on that.
All due respect, all the conversation, what does it have to do with this application right now? Just kind of wasting a lot of breath here.
Sorry.
Well, these people want the
Yeah, but that's
tree
nothing to do with
removed
this
for a
application.
reason, and that is for their view, so it's
Yeah,
part
but
of
we
it.
can't decide that here.
Would
That
anyone
would
else
be an
like to,
opinion.
would anyone else like to speak in favor or against the application? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bruce Osudge. I live at 16 Reeves Avenue. I also have a letter from my neighbor, Gabe Butler, who's at 8 Reeves Avenue. She wasn't able to make it here. She was here for the previous meeting, but I'd like to read her letter. Is that all right? Because my points are similar to what she's taking. June 3rd, to the Planning and Zoning Commission, Town of Guilford. I'm writing in response to the notice received regarding the proposal for 10 Indian Cove Road. While I'm unable to attend the meeting June 5th, I was able to review the application, site plan, and drawings. As my property is in direct line of sight of the proposed addition, the view of the cove and Long Island Sound will be significantly obstructed. This goes to our own enjoyment, certainly, but as a coastal community, it would affect everyone. Given that this is much of the appeal of Indian Cove living, consequently, it would have a negative impact on property values. Of equal or greater concern to all of us, and for the town of Guilford as well, is the proposed expansion from 1 bedroom to 4 bedrooms. Although not labeled as such on the plans, these rooms meet all the criteria as potential bedrooms with the addition of the full bathrooms as drawn. This on a property with a septic system only a few feet from our shared beach and fully within the most vulnerable FEMA zone. While we understand it may not be the current owner's intent, such changes would allow an enormous increase in density now and in perpetuity. I have no objection to improvements generally and understand the desire to maximize the enjoyment of the property, but not at the expense of the community from an aesthetic standpoint and with potential implications to property values and health concerns. Their situation is not unique in this neighborhood of predominantly non-conforming lots and structures. Many of us have similarly desired to make improvements, but have done so within the constraints of the town's objectives to maintain or improve the quality of the environment and to conserve property values. I respectfully ask this board to guide their decision in this context. Gay Butler, 8 Reeves Ave. And my own situation is similar. I'm on Reeves Avenue. The addition will impede on our existing view due to the angle that we're situated further down Reeves. I also had questions because I went and I reviewed the drawings, and what I read on the plans was 1 bedroom based on the health regulations, as I understood them to be access to a full bathroom, which in the existing plan drawing, I've never been in the house in the last 20 years, but it looked to me like there was only 1 full bath, which was located inside of a bedroom. The new plans, again, look to me, I guess, perhaps they've been changed since I reviewed them last Friday? Okay. So maybe you can talk to that change.
As you may recall, the Director of Health did sign off on it with respect to the septic compliance, and there aren't any additional bedrooms being added according to the plan. But if you want to just briefly share with them.
Sure. I mean, legally, the house originally was a 2-bedroom home that had been renovated and got rid of one of its bedrooms, but it was still, the septic design was meant for a 2-bedroom. So when we go in with our proposed, we have 2 full bedrooms. And as far as bathrooms go, you're allowed to have as many bathrooms as you want in a house. It's all about the bedroom count.
Right, I wasn't questioning the bedroom count, but, questioning the bathroom count. But yeah, the expansion of the bathrooms to full bathrooms then gave access to full bathrooms to fully 4 rooms that were on the original drawings as of Friday.
Which is why we went back and changed the first floor back to the way it was, so it's basically a master suite. And then the second floor is completely open. There's no wall separating that as a bedroom.
Okay,
So-
all right. Yeah, as I say, I didn't have a chance to take a look at this, in the ensuing few days, but.
It was, we heard back from Dennis, I think it was on Friday.
Got it.
Or was it Monday? Friday, yeah.
Right. All right, that's.
Thank you. You want us to make the records to Lisa? She can enter them into the record. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in favor or against the application? Sure, please.
We have tried very hard to keep our alterations to as minimal impact on the environment and on the neighborhood as we could, and try to make the house more livable for our clients.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We need to go for a second here.
Well, I don't.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, there's a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor? Does someone?
Motion to waive the second public hearing.
There's a motion to waive the second public hearing?
Yeah, that motion first.
Okay.
The other motion.
Then we'll make,
Amend everything.
we'll unclose. Does someone want to make a motion to unclose?
Whatever procedurally you want.
Frank will second that?
I'll re-second.
Okay, all in favor of reopening? Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to waive the second public hearing?
I'll make a motion to waive the second public hearing.
Anyone want to second that? Then we can take a vote. As you recall, we have to have a supermajority, so in this case, we'd have to have a 5-2 vote to waive the second public hearing.
Don't we have to hear from the zoning enforcement officer about the status of the tree?
No, I don't think so. I think that is an issue that is unrelated to the application. Thank you. So I'm going to call a vote. All those in favor of waiving the second public hearing? We go, before we do that, discussion?
we've received, emails from stakeholders, and
I'm sensitive to the fact that they're well under the height requirements that they could legally build under. And I think that's obviously taken into consideration. One man's opinion. Any other discussion? All in favor of waiving the second public hearing? 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go, 5-2. We will make a decision on it this evening then. Okay, someone would like to make a motion to close? Sorry.
2 votes against that, or was there
There were-
a possible abstention?
No. Votes against or abstentions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, then I'm
Are you for or against?
for.
Okay, so that's 6-2. Would you like to vote one way or the
I
other?
would like to vote. I mean, I think I agree with you that they are well within the height restrictions, so I would have to lean towards waiving the second.
So it's unanimous. Thank you. Someone would like to make a motion to close? Yeah, you got to wave your hand. You got to raise your hand from now on.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that we were actually voting.
Okay.
Now I know.
Someone like to make
So
a motion to close?
Did you say so moved?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much.
Jamie's benefit, a little background on the 2 public hearing question. A couple of years ago, as a result of several applications which were more hastily moved through the process than many people wanted, the commission adopted a requirement to have two hearings. It's actually 1 hearing on these 2 different occasions for all special permit applications. It turned out over the years that was an onerous requirement in 9 out of 10 or 95 out of 100 cases. So the commission modified its regulation to not to eliminate the 2 hearing requirement, but to allow for a waiver on a supermajority vote of the second public hearing. So where an application doesn't look like it needs to or will benefit from having a second hearing, the commission can waive the second hearing as you just did.
Okay. All right. Good background. Appreciate that. William C. Butterly III, 5,000 Durham Road, map 128, lot 1, zone R8, special permit for accessory structure over 750 square feet, 1,363 square foot tractor barn.
Good evening. Todd Anderson from Anderson Engineering and Surveying Associates on behalf of William Bartley III. We are up at 5,000 Durham Road. We propose to take, if you're familiar with Guilford, Long Hill Road, the Smith property, there is a barn on the property that property is about to be developed. I have 1 set of pictures to show you guys of the barn that he plans to take down piece by piece and reconstruct on his property. He loves his barns, as you know. We've been here before. There is an existing shed on the property that will be removed. It's not a historic shed. It has a bunch of tools in it. That will be taken down. There's a few trees that need to be removed. There's an existing large barn in this area here. The existing house is here. This is the barn that we've been before you before, that he has constructed. There's a septic system out and back here. It is a little over 1,300 square feet, 1,360, I believe, total square foot barn. I think it's 32 or 33 foot tall, if I recall correctly. So pretty straightforward. He just wants to add in another historical barn. He's going to use it for tractor storage. Right now he has a few farm tractors that are stored outside, and he's going to put them in this barn.
George, are there any restrictions in terms of, sorry, let me ask you a clarifying question. What is our current coverage on the lot, and what is the coverage requirement?
The lot area is over 33 acres. So
We don't
we
need
have
much
plenty
than
of
that.
room.
Okay.
He could build 100 of these barns on this property.
Are there any limitations in terms of the number of accessory buildings? No? Okay. Sorry, just stream of consciousness.
No, I understand. We've been through wetlands. They have approved the location. It is within the 100-foot setback of wetlands. And we have gone through them with the soil erosion controls and what we propose for the stockpile areas. Basically, he's going to dig out the footings, put that material inside the barn, put in the foundation, and then use that material to backfill the grading. So very minimal impact to the land, pretty straightforward, but it is a large barn, so that's why we're here.
Any clarifying questions from commissioners? No?
So what did you say about the Long Hill barn? You're taking the wood from that barn for this barn?
He takes buildings, he loves his old buildings. He takes a building, takes it down board by board, labels them, brings it somewhere else, rebuilds it exactly the same as it was.
So that's what's happening here?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Any questions from the audience? Would anybody like to speak in favor of the application? Would anyone like to speak against? You're in conflict of interest. Cut it out.
I move to waive the requirement of the second hearing.
Second.
I have to agree. All in favor of waiving the second public hearing?
That a waiver requires
An affirmative vote? You good with that, Alan?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a unanimous vote to waive the second public hearing.
Close public hearing.
Second. All in favor? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approval of the revised agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Deliberation of public hearings. Derek and Keiko Tomre. Again, I think it's pretty straightforward, very low use.
I'd like to propose a motion. Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit application for Derek and Kyoko Tumre at 104 Watering Pond Road, map 97, lot 35A-7, for a floral design studio and a detached accessory building, as shown in the application dated April 15, 2019. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code. The special permit is effective on June 14, 2019, and upon filing with the town clerk.
Dennis Johnson's condition.
And I would like to add a condition from Dennis Johnson. The applicant shall install a new septic tank to connect the proposed half bath to the accessory building to the leaching system serving the house prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
Second. Great. Discussion? I think it's terrific. Yeah. I'll call a vote. All in favor? Aye. Jamie?
Aye.
Okay. They shall have their special permit. The Chupps, Barbara and Jeffrey Chupp, 10 Indian Cove Road. Obviously, we waived the second public hearing.
I'd like to make another motion.
Please.
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit and coastal area management application for Barbara and Jeffrey Chupp at 10 India Cove Road to add a dormer and rebuild a deck as shown on, in quote, Chupp Residence dated April 16, 2019, 2 sheets prepared by Point One Architects. Also, in quotes, zoning location survey at 10 Indian Code Road, end quote, dated June 11, 2018, revised 4/16/2019, prepared by Gesick and Associates PC. This application is approved with the following conditions. 1, the ZEO be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site work. Number 2, any soil removed from digging the pilings should be disposed of outside of flood hazard area. 3, the site should be inspected daily to make sure that all construction debris has properly been disposed of in a covered dumpster. And 4 is Carol's requirement that the sedimentation control be moved within or out of outside of the VE zone. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code and is consistent with the coastal management policies of the state of Connecticut. The special permit is effective on May 24th, 2019, upon filing with the town clerk.
Would we change the special permit approval date to the 6th of June?
No, the next Friday, whatever that date is. 13th.
So I'd like to change the effective date to June 13th, 2019.
And also the architectural plans dated April 16th, revised June 3rd.
Okay, also makes that revision as well.
Second.
Discussion.
My thought on this, I want to be sensitive to the people who are concerned about their view being blocked. I can understand that, but again, this conforms with all the codes and rules and regulations, so again, I just want to make that statement of being sensitive to people and their view, and people who have been in the area a long time and so forth. So.
Yeah. I was surprised that the people that have been in the area a long time would want the tree taken down.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
I also appreciate the questions about property value and such things. I mean, certainly that's something we have to consider in a special permit. But I don't necessarily feel personally that it's going to affect property values substantially.
If anything, it could potentially improve property values. I mean, we don't really know what the condition of the home is now, and if they substantially improve the home, I mean, if your neighbor builds a really nice house, your value of your house probably goes up.
That certainly is part of our purview and with regards to special permits. So.
Any more discussion? Do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay. I'll call a vote. All in favor of approving the special permit?
Aye.
Thank you. Have fun. William G. Butterly, the barn.
I'll make another motion. Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit for Willa Butterly at, is it supposed to be William Butterly?
Willa.
Willa, is correct?
William
Butterly. At 5,000 Durham Road, map 128, lot 1, for an accessory structure over 750 square feet, as shown on an application dated April 23rd, 2019, and plans prepared by Anderson Associates dated April 3rd, 2019. This application is approved with the following conditions: that the zoning enforcement officer be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site work. Soil stockpiles should be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code. The special permit is effective on June 14th, 2019, upon filing with the town clerk.
We should probably add Kevin McGee's letter to that proposal.
I believe his stipulation is the one that I read.
So that isn't it?
Correct.
Okay.
Discussion? Hold on, we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
It's going to be the exact same barn, just moved.
Plenty of land, no objections from anyone, so.
It's nice that they're preserving the barn.
Yeah, I mean, that's a labor of love, let me tell you. So, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right. Under correspondence. Thank you. Under correspondence, just hatched, 112 State Street, map 46, lot 8, zone PV, request to erect 20 by 20 tent in the parking lot July 25th, 26th, 27th for just hatched preview sale, and August 2nd and 3rd for the Guilford Town sidewalk sale. That's the first one. Second one is a request from the Agricultural Society to host a late afternoon school race event on 9/5/19 at the fairgrounds. There'll be no music or food at the event and will last no more than 3 hours. So just historically, they've always come, Just Hatch has always come before us to request permission to erect a tent. And to the best of my knowledge, it's never been turned down, never even had much discussion.
On the Agricultural Society, is anything ever going to be done to speak to the fact that everything they bring before us does not does not actually fit with what their special permit says it needs to?
About how many months in advance?
Who are you asking that question of?
the general populace of the board.
He's talking about how many months they're supposed to.
We're waiting for them to come forward with a proposal to revise the special permit that was originally approved and then subsequently revised to put us in the current quandary, if you remember all of that. And they haven't done that.
I'm sorry, can you clarify?
So currently their special permit is that they have a certain list of events that we want them to keep to and approve. They are supposed to come to us 6 months before every event, at least 6 months before every event, and we are supposed to then approve whatever they want to do based on their special permit.
We got down a road several years ago where there was an event that lasted. It was extensive in duration and noise, and it was really imposing upon neighbors. And again, this is a residential parcel, albeit 27 acres. So the compromise that was worked out was there would be a limited number of events, and they would bring to us the proposed events 6 months in advance. The complicating part is that there are some pretty innocuous ones like a race, and I think they did a road race for Heath and Song. I mean, I don't think that's...
Sure, and so it's...
So maybe we can have them...
The question I bring up is that, like, I'm not against a road race like this. Like, I'm technically not against that necessarily, but it's not within our purview. Technically, it's also not within our purview, so I have an issue with approving these all the damn time.
Could you send a request to the Ag Society requesting that...
Drawing board on doing that. We started to work on this last year, if you recall, to try to fashion a more realistic special permit standard, one that didn't require that they notify us of every single event and clarify what types of events would be allowed to occur. But we had the neighbors involved in helping fashion what the rules and criteria and standards would be, and it became very complicated, and everybody hired lawyers, and so it ground to a halt.
Maybe emphasize to them that we would be reluctant to approve future additions that didn't comply with the requirements.
Yes,
Not to say that it necessarily would or wouldn't happen, just we're bending the rules and bending the rules and bending the rules. Sets a bad precedent.
Is it a 6 months notification is what's getting bent?
That's what the current
special permit calls for.
That doesn't happen, many people don't plan these types of events that far in advance.
So again, if they came back to us and requested a shortening of that time period or something to that effect, but I'll let you work with them and craft that.
Fine, good. Thank you.
Thank you. So do we need to do anything on Just Hatch? Do we have to make a motion to?
Yeah, you should make a motion to approve that and also approve the Agricultural Society.
I'll make that motion to approve Just Hatch 10.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Someone like to make a motion to approve the addition of the afternoon school race on 9/5.
Motion to approve the school race.
Second.
Is that with the stipulation that they...
No, there's no stipulation. We're just going to have George contact them,
Okay.
advise them of our reluctance to add future events without proper notice and/or to work on developing a better system. We have a motion and second. All in favor of adding the race? Thank you very much. Applications. Okay, got one against. Anyone want to abstain? Okay. Application to be received. We have the zoning amendments. I'm not sure when that's going to be coming forward.
July 17th, we're recommending a hearing date.
Okay.
On both of those, the planning committee recommendations.
Oh, here we go, yeah. Recommendation of the planning committee regarding the proposed zoning amendment, amend 273-15F RE lots without required frontage, received and set public hearing of July 17th, 2019.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Recommendation of the planning committee regarding a proposed zoning amendment, amend table 3 RE line 4 height, receive and set public hearing date of July 17th, 2019.
So moved. Second.
Okay, approval of the bills, Shore Publishing, $121. Someone like to make a motion to approve? Pay the bills. Pay the bills, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I had a chance to review the minutes and found them to be substantially correct.
I'll move to approve. Second.
Thank you very much.
update on the,
I'm abstaining from that one, by the way.
I'm going to take a minute here before we adjourn. You want to say something? Go ahead.
give you a quick update on the, we are funded for a comprehensive rewriting of the zoning and subdivision code. We're the RFP for professional services to do that is going to go out next week. And early in July, we'll probably have some proposals to look at. I think Phil and I talked a little bit about this, certainly Aaron and I and Phil and maybe one or two other members of the commission, if you want to work with us on reviewing the proposals and interviewing consultants. That's kind of up to Phil in terms of how you want to handle that, but normally we would like to put together a little committee that does that, and then we'll have to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen that we retain whatever firm we decide to hire, because they're the ones that have to contract with the consultants. So, but that's all, it's all happening, and it should come together in early July.
So that's separate from the planning committee? So the planning
Yeah,
committee's
so
not going to be doing that?
Well, we haven't, we kind of talked about that possibly, but that's really your call. It's up to you all, however you want to handle it. The planning committee might be the group that works with the consultant, not necessarily you probably want a smaller group to actually do the interviews or whatever.
Sure.
But that, again, that's
So if
really
anyone
up to
has
you.
specific interest in terms of doing that, great. That'd be great. Super. I'll obviously work with you all as well. See what we can do, and we might even bring in someone else that could be helpful for us on this as well. Obviously, the idea is to not have it just be town staff making a decision, but
I'm sure
having
there's
us
plenty of
involved as
folks
well.
in town that are qualified.
You want to say something?
Yeah, I'm just taking advantage of that TV in front of us right now. To remind the people in Guilford and surrounding towns, anyone that sees this, I'd like them to pay attention to the fact that June is a big graduation time, parties and all that. And being a guy against these balloons, I want to make another point again. I made it the other night and I'm making it again. That if you have a party and you have balloons, graduation balloons or whatever, and you tie them on your post, or you tie them on your chairs, or you tie them on your post box or whatever, when you're done with them, be sure and deflate them and get rid of them properly. Otherwise, that string that they have on them, that the ribbon that they have on them will break away, and they'll end up in Long Island Sound, and it's something we do not want. So please, if you go to a party, be sure you let people know that you want those things deflated and disposed of properly. Otherwise, we'll end up with it in our sound. And like I stated many times, last year there was 55 of them in the East River on one day alone. And I had many other guys fishing that told me the same thing, that they've seen them out there. So please pay attention to those plastic balloons.
To add to that, I just did a walk for inland wetlands for the Ekstrom property, and we picked up 5 of those balloons from that property.
We got to get this under control, or we're going to have to come up with an amendment to get rid of them, one of the two. Because that's very important, because they're killing our fish, they're killing our birds, and it's our Long Island Sound. We don't want it to get like that.
Thank you. So with that said, I'd like someone to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good job.